And if you compare, as you do with most religions, they all have similar holidays, and God does certain things. You know, in Greece and Rome, things that man couldn't explain, they said it was this God or it was that God. Okay, for some reason, man came over here with a chip. The Europeans came over here with a chip on their shoulder, and that's why even to this day, Native Americans resent the white man to a certain degree.
I would if I were them.
You know, and live on reservations and are treated like second and third class citizens because
they never had a treaty that was ever honored either.
Exactly.
No, that's right.
You know, when they talk about white man speak with forked tongue, that's exactly what they did. Promise them the world, and then they take away what they never gave them.
Right.
So that's the only thing I want to add.
I think that brings more to Joe's point about how human beings are. Always conquering the weaker.
Which is what Joe said.
Yeah, exactly.
But on the other side of the coin, Joe and Dr. Don, I have to say, I am a hopeless romantic. I'm a dreamer. And in a way, I can understand Dr. Don because I would like to think that mankind is better than that. All right? Even though history has proved me wrong time and again, I'd like to think that in some respect there's hope for our future. I might not be around to see it, but I only hope that for the existence of man in general, that we learn to live together in some semblance of peace, because otherwise, as you said, Joe, we're going to just destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
That's a possibility that I hope I'm not around to see.
I agree.
I just hope that it's not a reality. But I agree with Joe that we have that dark side of our nature, which is something that people call evil or psychopathic or brutal. But I also see the other side of of human nature, which also has a beautiful side that I think reflects something greater than ourselves. Okay, guys. Hey,
Dr. Don, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, Don.
Don't be a stranger.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I thought your daughter was in Dayton.
No, she's in Troy, and I'm going to tell her to give you a call.
All right, too. Be happy to talk with her. Okay, guys. Have a good week.
Thank you.
You too.
Be well. Bye.
Hey,
Bye.
Joe, I sort of tend to agree with you more. I mean, it's proven, your theory is proven every day by the way mankind acts.
Sure, and just because that we do cooperate doesn't mean, as I've already stated, that we don't have a predisposition to end that particular type of cooperation and automatically go into conflict mode. Take a look at our relationships, okay? We marry, but we want to kill our wives or our husbands because they've cheated on us. So the cooperation didn't last. And I gave the example of the schools, the microcosms of bullies. They're not taught by their teachers or by maybe by some of their parents, but most of them probably aren't taught by anybody to go out and attack the smaller kid. But they do it. Look at the mean girls in school.
Right.
They're not taught to go out and degrade the uglier, fatter chicks, but they do. It is something that we, in our nature, just like breathing, eating, and the rest of our bodily functions, is part of our DNA. Now, that was part of our environment.
Survival of the fittest.
If you're attacked, but those who attack first, it's because they want to. It's because they want what you've got or they want to humiliate. That's my conclusion.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, and that's why I brought up that particular example. If we went to another planet, now these people are, whatever you want to call them, we probably wouldn't even call them people. Even if they looked like us, we probably wouldn't call them people, especially if they were in the bow and arrow stage. We would just say, oh, they're savages.
Well, Joe, That's exactly what I was saying when the explorers came over, when the Westerners came over to the New World. They saw a people who were not as advanced. They looked upon them as savages. They didn't consider them equal. All right, so it's okay to cheat them, okay, to push them off their land, which is exactly what happened.
And when you're talking about manifest, that was in Christopher Columbus's diary. He within a week he took into bondage a few of the Arawak Indians, and Manifest Destiny, which you talked about. That's on the floor of Congress, where the white man must push back the savage.
Yes.
So that's what we did in Africa. We did the same thing in Africa.
Well, look, of course, and if you take a look at the history of the United States, or, probably Russia and China and every other large country, do you know that we attacked Canada around 1909, something like that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. It probably lasted a week or a day, and probably a lot less, and then there may have been some diplomatic, remedies, applied to that particular snafu. But if you take a look at the history of the United States hasn't. Take a look at how about this? The Marines' anthem, "Through the shores of Tripoli." Well, how do we get that particular stanza in the anthem? Because we invaded Libya.
To the shores of Tripoli.
Yeah. Okay. We are nothing but a warlike nation.
In fact,
all nations.
Do you remember seeing Planet of the Apes, the original?
Yeah.
You remember when Dr. Zaius asked Taylor where he was from? He said Fort Worth. He says, I think it was Fort Worth or a fort in Florida. And he said, military. And he said, in other words,
I don't remember that. No.
Yeah, well, he did. And he says, it's everything boils down to military and war. When you talk about man going into space, and of course Taylor didn't know that he landed in Earth's future until the end.
Yeah, when you saw the Statue of Liberty. Yeah.
Exactly.
And people don't want to see it because people are romantics. They just don't want to admit that, man is a combination of both good and evil.
Man is his own worst enemy.
Oh yeah, look at what we've done to ourselves. And we do it for what? For ideological purposes, for religion, but mainly out of greed.
You remember Phil Oakes, the protest singer during Vietnam, back in the 60s?
Phil Oakes?
Yeah.
No.
Phil Oakes had a song where he said, "It's always the old who lead us to the wars, and always the young to fall." He said, "Look at all we've won with a saber and a gun, and tell me, is it worth it all? Because the bottom line is, it's just more killing. Killing leads to more killing." The generals tell you what to do and where to go, and the young people die. And then what happens? After World War II, Germany is our friend, Japan is our friend. Okay, all these countries that we were fighting against in the Second World War.
Yeah, well, and the ones that were on our side are our enemies.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and talk about the general and the younger soldiers. Take a look at America. America is the prime example of a country that doesn't need to go anywhere to conquer. Doesn't need to go anywhere. We're protected by water. The Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. We have early warning stations. We have satellites. We have everything to protect us. We have Canada to the north, which is about as friendly a nation as you can get. And we have Mexico to the south, which is, a land which couldn't, it can conquer us through immigration, but it's not going to conquer us through military force. So in a very protected and very secure, insulated position. But what do we have to do? And forgive me for always saying we. I keep thinking of myself as an American when it's really the United States government which has been doing all of this. The government, what does the government do? It has to go out there and invade Vietnam. It has to invade China in 1909 or Japan in 1909, I forget which. The Boer Wars. We have to get involved with every other country's business. Why? Because we can. Or they can. And there's something to be gained from the wars. If it's not oil, then it's natural resources. But the largesse that we acquire, that they acquire from the attacks on other people's soil, the American people don't see it. It goes into the hands of the boards of directors of those companies, defense contractors, oil companies, etc., that are involved in the war. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you're right.
Or Cheney.
Cheney, sure. Where did he come from? Halliburton, didn't he?
Yeah,
That's
Not
right.
Halliburton. He came from an oil company.
Halliburton.
Yeah, he was an oil.
Halliburton.
Yeah.
You know,
Did he come from Halliburton?
He put his holdings with a receiver with in trust when he was
In
vice
receivership?
president. But the bottom
Okay.
line is
Well, not
he made
receivership.
out like a bandit with in Iraq. You know.
So, talk about the lies of going into Iraq. Didn't the pundits say that within 2 years the war would be over, and in the meantime, the war would be paid for by the oil
That's right,
of Iraq?
by Saddam Hussein's monies that he had hidden away, by the billions and trillions of dollars that he had, that all of a sudden nobody can find. You know, I wonder where all that money went to.
Nobody can find $5 billion that Rumsfeld lost and couldn't tell Congress where it went.
And then he has the nerve, Rumsfeld, to tell people that, well, you go to war with the army that you have, not the army you'd like to have.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean Bush and his crowd, and Obama and his crowd. I mean his crowd are the same people who advised Bush and Clinton. So, I mean, America's a perfect example of a warmongering nation because, it's not as though they can have the battle cry. They're coming to get us at the northern border. Well, nobody's coming. They can't conquer us. Okay.
We're doing the same thing.
We do a good job of that ourselves.
Listen, we do the same thing that Russia does, but we blame Russia.
Yeah, Russia's doing the same thing. Only it's not in the news as much, and China's trying to do the same thing. All the large countries are trying to expand their empire. And America's... Do you know, I have a book that was written in 1955, and it's a world history textbook, okay? A textbook. This isn't a book written by an author who has an axe to grind or anything like that. It's a textbook which they distributed to high school students in 1955. And it's about world history. I wish I had a textbook of American history. But in the world history textbook, it states plain out there, up front, that America is an imperialistic nation. It says so. You won't find that in any history books today.
No, you won't.
I mean, we are. Look what we've been doing in the last 40 years. 50 years.
And democide, they're going to take a look at what Stalin did, Mao Zedong, Hitler, Mussolini, what they did to their own people. They killed 20 million. Stalin killed 20 million. Mao Zedong killed 40 million. Hitler killed 6 million Jews and millions of other people besides the Jews. The Armenians, how about the Armenian Holocaust? Okay. Take a look around the world. Nations are... governments kill ourselves. And this is excluding war. Take a look what's happening now. The so-called Ebola crisis, which I think is full of shit. I don't think, that to me is just a harbinger. I think it's a test run to find out how people are going to react. I don't think it's going to spread. But it's a shame that they actually brought back here from Africa Americans to be treated here and